Hello and welcome to Data Planet. I'm Emma Davis, and today's guest is Zeb Couch. He's the Chief Revenue Officer at LeadGenius. Welcome to the show, Zeb.
Thanks, Emma. Happy to be here.
I can tell.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe overly happy. Anyway,
A,
yes,
a
this is
freshly
excellent.
caffeinated Zeb is here with us on Data
Yes,
Planet. Welcome to the
yes,
show, Zeb.
yes. Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. So to start, tell me about LeadGenius. What do you guys do?
Yeah, LeadGenius is a data company at our core. People come to us when what we call your pre-built data vendors, some of the folks the brand names you'd recognize in the space are falling short in coverage or quality, especially in international markets or in certain verticals. So we deliver account data, contact data, insights and signals to help segment and prioritize. And we have a bunch of activation solutions as well to help drive better leads and qualify contacts before your sales team talks to them.
Nice. And so is that, someone purchases the data and then they can go out and use that and use those other tools? Is that data enrichment? So as you're collecting, we got this lead form, this lead submission in, now I can see all this other information and sort of connect the dots. It's all of that.
Yes, totally. So the folks that we primarily work with are in revenue operations, demand generation, MOPS, SOPs practitioners that want to tie data sources directly into systems of record that then get distributed to other sales folks or marketers to actually use in their tools. So we are not an application that sales reps log into. We are an application that deeply integrates with the tools they're already using, the tools that your marketers are already using. And through that integration, yes, you might need existing data that needs to be updated or augmented in some way, improved, cleaned up. You might have inbound forms that you want to get real-time enrichment around folks. You might have net new data needs for greenfield markets where you're like, oh, geez, we don't have coverage in ZoomInfo or DNB for these accounts or these types of people. Or maybe we do have coverage, but they don't have an email, they don't have a phone number, kind of standard data needs like that. That's where we can come in and be a really great fit.
Okay. And you talked about there being these large gaps either internationally. So is that due to just different data privacy regulations or just others in the market weren't focused outside
Yeah.
the US? So they don't have that coverage? What do you attribute that to?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, look, the majority of data companies that are out there are based in the United States, right? And what we've seen is because they're based in the United States, they typically have the best coverage in the United States. And that's not just data vendors like ZoomInfo and Dun& Bradstreet. It's also intent vendors, Bombora, Domain-Based, Sixth Sense. Um, if you need information from any of those providers in North America, you have a lot of different solutions to choose from. But when you start to look outside of North America, and this is particularly felt by teams that are operating in verticals or in territories outside of North America. If you're an inside North America team, but you're responsible for feeding data to outside of North American teams, this is something that they're not generally aware of. They think one data vendor is another vendor and it works well everywhere. But teams outside will say, no, 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 like we are missing key important details about going to market and the information that we need to support going to market in just an efficient way. So, yeah, I think a lot of North American companies have gotten really good at North America data. We have very liberal data privacy policies in North America, of course, with the exception of things like CPPA and others. But those are rare. Outside of North America, the game changes, right? So it becomes really challenging to navigate coverage and quality and also privacy compliance. And one of the things that makes us unique is we can source data differently, region to region, country to country. We have a very flexible process that uses humans in the loop with local knowledge, AI, and all that great stuff to actually allow us to service different data needs with different compliance requirements wherever our customers sell today. Yeah.
Very cool. And you've also talked about specific verticals that may be challenged with coverage. Is that similarly related to privacy? That's the only thing I can think of, like,
You can't wait.
HIPAA
Yeah.
requirements, things like that.
Well,
So,
here, yeah, it often it just has to do with look, when a pre-built database, their objective is to collect as much data as quickly as possible that they can resell to the widest audience possible. So it generally means they are collecting information that has mass appeal. But in order to collect it with efficiency, it also means they need to make some assumptions in how they classify and organize that data. So what I mean is, typically, and here's a tactical example, we'll see things like quick serve restaurants, your pita times, your Dunkin' Donuts, your franchises, and locally owned quick serve restaurants or coffee shops. They are usually classified, if they're in a pre-built database, as like food and beverage. But food and beverage is also the same classification used for Budweiser, used
Mhm.
for, Kroger in some cases, used for food providers, in some cases CPG brands. So like if you're saying, look, I need to build the territory of quick serve restaurants in the UK or even in North America because it's a vertical, you usually don't have a data set that lets you filter and segment in that way. And and that's what we are really good at. And we can source things uniquely and then classify them in a way that makes sense for you. And a lot of people probably that might be listening to this might be thinking about, well, Clay can do that. Yes, Clay is a new, really great provider in this space. But when it comes to enterprise data, upper mid market companies, that is where we play. Clay is excellent for usually smaller entities. They can move more nimbly. Maybe they have a more liberal interpretation of privacy, or they're not feeding teams that are as large. If you're an enterprise, if you're an upper mid-market company, 500 plus employees, 1,000 plus employees, that's really the space where we play, and we can provide a ton of value.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I'm parsing or piecing together a little bit more. It's about, yes, the data and the pieces that are available there, but also how useful it can be to you. So, it could be n you might have a list that is not that different from what another provider has in terms of those people, but you can segment that in a way that is more useful, or you can identify, here are the actual things I care about from that list so that it's more useful to me. But what you're saying is it's kind of both. You have a greater
Yes.
data set plus, even for those records that are the same between one and the other, it's more useful because it's designed to meet a greater variety of needs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Cool. So I can pretty easily imagine, like, I get the value add for that. Then you guys have yet another product. So Ad Genius is a fairly new product. Can you talk a little bit about what that adds
Yeah.
to the mix?
Yes. Yes. Um, so many of our clients have come to us asking, "Hey, we love the data that you provide. Can you help us activate it?" Like, the B2B landscape has changed so much. You cannot go to market today. Many of your listeners understand, like, you can't go to market today the same way that you used to be able to go to market even just 5 years ago, right? There's so much noise, there's so much competition, there's more and more tools popping up that do exactly what you do. It's really difficult to differentiate in product alone, right? So, people have come and said, "Well, how can I activate contacts? How can you guys help me in any way drive more leads, engage more of this audience for us, given that B2B has changed so much?" So that's where we started to explore, like, well, what other things could we offer? Like, we have great data, and paid media is still an amazing brand awareness, conversion channel, and our data can be really useful in those channels to help people reach more of the right audience. So, over the last several months, we've gone to work figuring out how to build a paid media platform that not only delivers or allows customers to like deliver our data into channels like LinkedIn, Google, programmatic, Meta, TikTok, Reddit, and places where they're either already operating or would love to operate, but then also connects all those channels, right? It's not just about great data and great audience data to improve your match rates. You also need to get smarter about how those channels talk and optimize and change their budget, bidding, and what creative they show based off of performance in other channels. So much is so siloed. If you're going to operate in what is a very new and very challenging B2B marketplace, you need great audience data and you need to get smarter about how you're using your channels. So that is my long-winded way of explaining kind of what Ad Genius does, right? It's better audience data and better unification across those audiences and across the channels where all of your customers work, live, and play today.
Yeah. I there's so many, like, little synapses firing for me as you're talking
Yeah,
about that because
yeah.
we so I run a paid media, agency, and we specialize
Yes.
in
Yeah.
the financial optimization of paid digital programs and really helping to answer questions beyond just, like, what can get our pixels to fire the most. It's like, no, 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 but like what's actually adding value? And you might not even get that pixel to fire. It might be something that you need to measure that incrementality somewhere else. And what you're
Mhm.
talking about between Lead Genius and Ad Genius is this kind of uh, data solution for that B2B side, that B2B reality, which is, yeah, a lot of your customers are on LinkedIn, but a lot of your customers aren't on LinkedIn, or if they're on LinkedIn, they're getting bombarded with, like, everybody is showing them ads. They're not ready to receive that. Like, it's not great. You want to reach them
Yes.
in a lot of different channels, but when you do that, you lose those connection points of, well, they're not on TikTok with their business email. They're on TikTok with their personal email. So how do
Right,
you connect those dots? How do you
right.
figure out
Yes.
for B2B, really what you need to do is ha- excuse me, have very targeted audiences, know exactly who your customers are, and sort of wrap them in this media ecosystem where you can get in front of them over and over and over again. It can take hundreds of touches to get a B2B conversion across the line, to say nothing of then all the different stages of the funnel that need to
Right.
be supported with ongoing marketing. And
Yes.
so finding, yeah, a solution that can allow you to connect those dots and help, you know, provide some sort of a unified message to that target audience that, you know who they are, just can't figure out how to get in front of them, and how to figure out also then what's working to actually convert them. What should I be spending my ad dollars on? You can burn you can burn a marketing budget to the point where you've burned your budget right out of business. Like, you can spend so much money on paid digital platforms and never actually make a difference because
Yes.
your audience is so
Yes.
specific. Your audience, or it's so expensive and competitive.
Yes.
You need to get super targeted, super individualized, and just wake up to the reality that it's not clean and tidy. It isn't, run in LinkedIn and you'll find your audience and they're there. It's like, maybe, but you're gonna do better if you're also running in this channel and this channel and this channel, and those don't have great support for targeting, the
Right.
professional audience the way
Yes.
that
Yes.
LinkedIn does.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, you're touching on so many things. Like I can tell these are conversations you probably have a lot with your customers or folks that want to work with you, right? It's so I think 2 points. One is a lot of people know this stat. Like 80% of the buyer journey happens before anyone even lands on your site. Right? That buyer journey has evolved. People are moving between, you know, AI recommendations, peer recommendations, your website, review websites, LinkedIn. They're consuming more and more information on LinkedIn, through dark social and what their peer groups are saying, what they're seeing posted, and then they're having internal conversations. They're moving forwards and backwards and sideways, and then over again. Right? That's the buying journey today. It's not linear. It's not. You can't put your arms around it. So like just that's it. Just be comfortable with that fact. But the
mhm,
challenge is paid media still is anything but that. It is structured and siloed when the buying journey is anything but. So we kind of live in this environment now where like the buyer journey has evolved, but paid media hasn't. That's one of the main things that's one of the main positioning points of Ad Genius is look, it's changed, but paid media is still siloed and structured. So that's one piece is right. Like you need to find a way to stitch together all of your channels in a real time way that does not require you to run a bunch of manual work and spreadsheets after the fact to try to stitch together a buyer journey to like defend your spend to your CFO or CEO who want to know what their marketing dollar, how much revenue their marketing dollars are attributed to. Getting to that point is it's so difficult.
mhm,
And marketers are always on the defensive in these budget meetings about trying to defend their spend when they're living in this completely different ecosystem, this completely way of doing business that anyone has ever faced before, operating in channels that are siloed and don't making their case easy, right? So that's just the reality. That's the environment, and it sucks. The other piece is um, um, having the right audience just is not enough in that
Yeah.
case, right?
Yeah.
Like, we have so many people come to us and they're like, "Hey, we just need better like personal identifiers on our B2B audience, and we think that's going to help us improve our match rates." Well, it will, 5 to 10% incrementally, depends on your market and your territory and all that good stuff. But just having the right audience is not enough. You need to engage them across all the channels where they work, live, and play. And by the way, like, I doom scroll Instagram at night when my toddler is screaming and I just try to put her to bed.
Hmm.
And yes, I venture onto TikTok. So when I hear customers say, "Oh, our buyers aren't there," it's just
Yep.
not the case. Like, just
Yep.
think about yourself, right? So all that's the case. Here's what's interesting though. We did a study of like 10 of the top HRIS companies. So HRIS, think about like Bamboo HR, ADP, TriNet, like those types of companies, Rippling. The vast majority of them, even though they're going after SMBs, they're all spending on LinkedIn or Google. 80% of their marketing budget or paid media budget is being spent on LinkedIn. Another 20% is on Google. Everyone is over indexed on LinkedIn. Everyone. So to your point about, yeah, you can maybe, and what do they say? They're like, "Oh, well, the targeting is so specific. We know we can get directly to the right buyer." But you're competing with 10, 20, 30 other HRS platforms that are selling to the same type of people. They're all over indexed on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's costs, because it's so easy now for all the different ABM platforms, all the different outreach or sales loft or demand-based Sixth Sense, they're all tying into LinkedIn, Factors, Seam AI, all of these new ABM platforms. They're all tying into LinkedIn because everyone uses it. All that demand against an already restricted B2B supply is why the cost is going up. So all of these same companies are swimming in the same water. LinkedIn loves it because their CPM, their CPC, their CPAs, everything is going up. And then over on TikTok, on Instagram, on Meta, there are massive opportunities for brand awareness and conversion because your buyers are there too,
Yep.
but you just don't know how to reach them.
Yeah.
And
People
all
are
you're
so
thinking about,
afraid of waste. They're afraid, like,
yes,
I don't want to spend money. Yeah,
and
okay, they're there, but how do I
yes,
even reach them?
and I get it too, because again, if they spend at a channel that doesn't have awareness and they've got to go in and tell a CFO type, and they've got to tell her, "Here's why we spent 20 grand on TikTok or 30 grand on TikTok in the last week." That's
Hmm.
a difficult conversation to have. And we didn't see any conversions from it yet, right? That's already a difficult conversation when you're spending, five, six, seven figures a month on LinkedIn and you're having a difficult time attributing that directly back to pipeline, let alone a new channel that the age of a CFO, it's highly likely that they don't understand the power of that channel in the same way that the folks using it might.
Yeah.
Not to age discriminate anyone, but I think you
Yeah.
get my point,
No,
right?
you
It's
heard
just,
it here first. Zeb is ageist. You heard it. Yeah.
so yeah, this is the ecosystem that we're in. So anyway, Ad Genius is really designed to help people figure this out, make better informed decisions, and get on channels to reach the right audience. So ultimately, you can lower your cost of a conversion by reaching the right people and increase your number of conversions. Ultimately, that is its objective, right?
Yeah. Well, if I can add to your objective, Zeb, it sounds like, yes, increase your number of conversions, but also improve the efficiency of your ad dollars. So,
Yes,
you know,
completely.
not you can increase your volume of conversions by just throwing more and more and more and more money and just like, I'll just advertise on every channel and every audience, and there will be some very low percentage engagement from that. But you're talking about more precise targeting and engagement on channels where you can afford to play and where the combination of those channels will actually produce better overall incremental outcomes than the best possible targeting, the best possible content combination and conversion funnel that you could have on a single channel like LinkedIn, where is the first thing we think of when we think of B2B targeting.
And help set up the right ecosystem to test, validate, and like attribute that, right?
Hmm.
So it's Ad Genius is not a platform where we hand you a credential, you pay your monthly subscription, and you figure all this stuff out on your own. Like that is a that's it's fully managed, right? It's almost like, we're certainly not an agency. A lot of agencies use Ad Genius to improve, right? Improve how they work with their clients. But it's managed. Like we're joining you in this journey to figure these pieces out and using the platform and its technology to just do it in a smarter, more efficient AI, but also human supported way, right? And I think it makes a difference. It makes a difference. We met with a mid market um, GRC company last week,
And
and
GRC, of course, stands for.
of course, yeah, right. Of course, you were going to ask me that. Compliance. I'm gonna governance, risk, and compliance. And if this customer ends up listening, they're going to be like, "Oh, geez, Zeb."
Yeah, no, that was for the listeners. I also definitely knew what GRC stands for.
Side note, yes, of course you did,
Yeah.
Emmy. Um, but their goal, your point was like, um, not only get more conversions, but lower the cost, right? Because you can increase the spend to get more. But their challenge is unique in that they have a very high ACV. Um, they have a strong conversion to opportunity off of MQL, which means that they have high tolerance for MQL cost. Their challenge is do not have the right volume, and they're primarily spending on LinkedIn. And they're living in this world where, yeah, they can reach the exact CSIO, the compliance officers, like the folks they want to talk to on LinkedIn. But because of their spend, the competition, frequency, they're just not getting enough through the front door. So this is a natural opportunity to you guys have to go to new channels. And then later, let's then optimize for MQL quality because it's inevitable as you go to new channels. People will convert that are not a perfect fit. That is normal.
Yep.
That is
Yep.
optimized over time,
Don't
right?
panic. Yep.
Don't panic. Like, and you set that expectation up front. And then it's like, okay, well, now once we do have some that are a great fit that we do see moving through the funnel, now let's start to optimize for lowering the cost to acquire those people. So those are the types of experiments and channels and all platform enabled and team enabled that we can help to run.
Awesome. Well, Zeb, we obviously had a lot to talk about and a lot that felt like, yes, I also see that. And so I'm sure our listeners will love to hear about that. Um, but let's go ahead and wrap up there. So, listeners, if you want to learn more about Zeb and Lead Genius and Ad Genius, details will be in the show notes. Otherwise, Zeb, thank you so much for joining me today on Data Planet.
Awesome. Thank you, Emma.